Hi, everyone. As always, this is Paula Johnson Hutchison, and I am your host, owner, and creator of Stiletto Talks podcast. Again, this podcast is for women by a woman. And our goal here at Stiletto Talks podcast is to always create a safe space for us to learn and grow and collaborate. And I always say, if your dream doesn't need help, it's not big enough. So thank you again for tuning in. Over the last few weeks, and especially over the holidays, because it's been a minute since we talked last. So over the last few months, I have been networking and building and kind of working on my own visions, but I've also been in the process of getting ready to launch a new business. And the business is centered around consulting and actually helping others to develop their dreams because, your gift is not just for yourself, it's also for others. So I have been working on this business, and let me tell you what I have found. What I have found is that we as women sometimes struggle to play nice in the sandbox. When you decide to have a vision, it's really important that you understand that it is your baby, but you definitely need the village to help you develop the baby. And I really want to talk about this in as positive a way as possible. And if you are listening, I certainly encourage you to share this with someone. It may be a subject that may be a little touchy, but sometimes the best medicine is not always the most tasteful one. But I definitely feel like it's something that we need to address. So at the top of the year, of course, everybody's like, oh, we're in this new decade. We're about to come alive. It's 2020 goals. We're in the roaring 20s. I have not seen a roaring 20s post since the first week in January. And I'm going to tell you why that is. Because it is very difficult to develop a habit, a good habit anyway, without help. So if you don't have any help around you, if you don't have any accountability partner around you, if you don't have someone that's helping you smash out your goals, if you haven't attended a vision party, if you haven't hosted one at your house, or if you just haven't taken the time to do something on your own to actually get the vision out of your head and onto a paper to hold you accountable onto a poster board, then you are doing yourself a disservice. And I'm going to tell you why. Long as it's in your head, it's a thought. From the moment that it comes on that paper or on that poster board or on whatever you're going to actually lay your vision out on, it then becomes a thing. And so now it's a seed. Well, now, for those of us who have carried babies, or for those of us who have grown plants, for the aunties, sisters, for those who have been in the village and in the process of helping others raise children, we all can probably agree that those of us who have had a village like of training know that we have a multitude of resources that we can go to and a multitude of people that are vested in our success. So why is it that when we get ready to do a vision, we do the same thing that we have always done, and that's hold it? I don't want to share it. This is mine. I don't want to give it to anyone. First and foremost, and of course I am coming out with a book about this, is about structuring your business properly so that way when you have a discussion on it, you can have it freely because it's protected. So if someone tries to copy your vision, you can send them a cease and desist letter. That's what you can do. So being able to send that cease and desist letter knows that you can discuss what you want to discuss. But oftentimes we are in such a hurry to get a dream out there. We're in such a hurry by letting social media drive us that oftentimes the vision is driving us instead of us driving and nurturing the vision. And so a lot of people miscarry their vision because they are trying to give birth to something prematurely. And I'm going to tell you something. My husband and I had this topic, and then we went to church last night. And what really prompted me to stop what I'm doing, I just got home and I said, you know what? I got to do this podcast right now. This is just heavy on my heart. They actually talked about creativity and they talked about innovation. And what did one of the pastors talk about? giving birth to a vision prematurely. And so I know that a lot of people feel like last decade, throw the whole decade away. But the good thing is that you survived it. So if you haven't taken the time to actually assess some of the tools and learn from some of the mistakes and actually work and go forward, first of all, you got to celebrate your success. You survived the last decade. It didn't kill you. And so that means that you can go forward. And a lot of times it's not failure. It's just learning how to get better at something. If you've rode a bike before, you don't learn immediately. There are very few people that do that. Most of the times you have to fall and fall and fall until you learn how to get it right. And then you can do it effortlessly. But if you know that you are not truly dedicated to your own vision, if you know that you are not doing yourself any justice, you're going home today, you like your vision, and you're only motivated by what you see on social media, you definitely need to go back and revisit your why. Because I can tell you now, if you are judging your vision on and allowing your why to be what you see on social media, you are going to drive yourself insane. And what you're going to have is a lot of unfinished products, a lot of underdeveloped babies in the village. So it's going to be very, very difficult for you to actually give birth to that vision and for it to sustain. So I want to talk to you about some things that I have seen in the sandbox as we play and collaborate and move along that I have seen that has been really difficult for women. And I know as women, we are strong, we're builders, we're creators by nature. We nurture things and we give birth to things. So it's really, really difficult sometimes for us to say, you know what? I need to take my time with this. We're in a hurry and we got to learn how to slow down. And so just in some of my conversations and some of my visits and dealing with prospective clients and so forth as I get ready to launch this business, I see a lot of people with amazing ideas, but often they struggle. And I can openly admit that I have struggled myself. And I always tell you all, I've spent a lot of money on mistakes. So you don't have to. And so unless you just want to be a volunteer or putting your money in a pile and setting it on fire, that's up to you. But if you don't want to set your money on fire, if you don't want to wade in the water of disappointment for a long time, I'd certainly behoove you to play this over and over again in your car, on your cell phone devices, on your iPads or any other type of device. And I'm telling you, listen at what I'm telling you, especially if you don't like to listen to anybody else, because nobody has to know that you're listening to this if you pop on some ear pods. And I want to make sure that you're listening to what I'm saying. Number one, you have got to be coachable. You do not know everything. I don't care how much you've studied. I don't care how much you research. There are millions of people on the planet, and not only are they thinking about the same thing that you're thinking about, they may even be better than you. But there is something unique about you that is different from that other person. And you may actually be the person or the change agent to actually breathe new life into either an old idea or to create a new idea based on the need in your area. And sometimes you have to be okay with being a local sensation first and building your brand worth up first before you take something national. Because a lot of times, and I don't know, some of you may not be old enough to remember, but I tell you, if you don't know who he is, look up Captain Caveman. Of course, he is a trademarked and copyrighted thing, so certainly don't quote me all the way on it. But if you've ever looked at Captain Caveman, he flies in the sky, and once he gets so far, he's pulling out all kind of things to try to help him fly, and he can't. And so he actually falls to the ground. He takes off a lot of time out of anxiety, out of anxiousness, or he's trying to take charge of something. And oftentimes he's ill-equipped. He's jumping prematurely, and he literally falls out the sky. So if you've ever watched it, he actually wins and defeats a lot of things by default, because he really did not stay in the air that long. And oftentimes when we put out a vision or dream, you might float for a little while, but if you're not doing the things on the front end to actually sustain it, you're going to fly out of the sky, fall out of the sky just like him. And so if you haven't seen it, I'm telling you, you got to watch it. It's funny, but I'm telling you, there's a lot of lessons in the cartoon. The second thing that I've noticed is that we as women struggle to respect feedback. So if you're doing focus groups or if you're tossing ideas between accountability partners, maybe you're meeting with branding coaches, maybe you're meeting with those that you feel like are going to aid you in brand development, personal brand development, you as a person. So let's say they tell you to only post certain content that relates to what you're going to create on your page for 30 days, but you're posting all sorts of pictures about all kinds of things. Nobody knows what your brand is about. Nobody knows what to follow you on. And if they tell you about it, what I found is people get offended. They get so offended. You shouldn't be offended. And it's cool to post your family and friends. I do it as well. But you definitely have to reserve enough posting time either on your personal and preferably your business page where you are actually engaging people in the things that you want to be an expert at. How can you be an expert? And for those of you that are looking to be in speaking engagements, and I help research speaking engagements for people, well, guess what they're looking for? They're looking for your LinkedIn content. They're looking for your personal brand and seeing your worth. Are you worth bringing in to their, aligning them with with their brand and actually putting you out there on the forefront? Because you have to be a ticket draw. So if you have no brand value, if you're nothing worth coming to see, they're not going to select you. And more, they're asking for your social media handles. They're looking for that engagement. So if all you're posting is your favorite cousins, your family events, and you're not posting anything and getting people to engage back and forth on the content that you want to be considered an expert at, then you don't need to be offended when a branding coach or personal development coach tells you, hey, I need for you to actually put this out a little more. And then most times you're paying them. So if you're paying them, then why would you do yourself a disservice in not getting your money's worth and not following through? So, and that's a whole nother subject that I will bring up next month about lacking follow through. We have got to do better with the follow through, especially when we're getting feedback about certain projects. But one thing about it, you have to respect the feedback. And what I put down today is they see what you cannot see, just like you see what they can't see. So they can't always see what you see because you're the visionary. You see the product, you see the vision, you know what you want to create, you know what you want to put out there to the public. But likewise, the same, they may research people. I actually go on social media to research the vibe of people. I can generally tell people when it's a good time to put out something and when you need to pull back a minute. Like today, there was an incident this week earlier about a particular video of a newscaster and just the feedback. Today might not be the best day because people are engaged into that particular subject. So tomorrow may be the better day for engagement. And then you can kind of get the vibe and tell where people are going with habits. Like you saw mental health, for example. I'm just putting that out there as a generic one, but mental health really started to rise last year. So this year, mental health is going to be one of the biggest subjects out there. You also started to see more women coming out and speaking. They're at different TED Talks and other speaking events, TED style events, and they're actually popping up all over the country. And so in order for you to actually have a chance at being a speaker or even being a part of an anthology, your brand has to have value or you're not going to receive the invitation. So make sure that if nothing else, you can respect feedback. The next thing I want to talk to you about is respecting the process. Stop following trends on social media. You don't know what's going on behind the scenes in somebody else's brand. You probably don't know how many times they failed. And unless somebody else told you about their brand, chances are if you're not on social media a lot, you didn't know anything about them until somebody else told you about them. Or if they became popular and became a trend. So you need to stop following them. You don't know what they're doing behind the scenes and you only know what they post. You don't know what is going on behind closed doors again. So stop allowing social media to be your driver as to when you introduce something. Your brand should always be developing. And social media, I'm telling you, is one of the biggest reasons why a lot of brands can fail. Not because it's not a good tool, but you're driving yourself to put something out prematurely, especially if something looks similar to yours or you see somebody gaining success. What you do need to do is study their patterns, study who their followers are, seeing how they're posting, seeing how often they're posting. There are certain tools that you can learn from them, but it should not necessarily be your driving force as to why you actually put out content. That is really not a good thing. And I've seen people do it. You tell them not to post, they go post anyway. Then they're frustrated, like, oh, nobody's engaging with my content. The reason why they're not doing so is because you don't have anything to have a build up for people to engage. And people don't know if they need to engage because of that. And I'm going to tell you something. What happens is something called temporal context. And so what that is where people have in their mind when they go to your page, if all you're posting about is family or friends, or let's say all you do is put like little badass memes up. And I say that in a way to where some people like to do catchy memes where people share the meme. And, oh girl, I know that's right. I know that's right. So that's all they come to your page for, is to see that. So when you post something else about something that you are an expert in, it throws them off. They're like, what are they posting about? And they actually start to disengage. So you don't want to do that. Keep in mind, if you don't know what temporal context is, look it up. It's a real thing, and it does drive consumers to either engage or disengage. So look it up. And lastly, take ownership when you haven't done your part. If someone has given you a set of deliverables, if you created a set of deliverables for yourself, you have things on your vision board, don't trip. Just go back and start it. But you got to take ownership that you haven't done it first in order for you to feel convicted enough to actually spring into action. And you should not be blaming others if you haven't done your part. And what I find a lot, and I used to do it, I would put my money out there on the line, but my follow through, I often call myself Chief I'ma do, because I'd be like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. And I wouldn't do it. And what would happen was, although my idea was really good, it only got to a certain level because I didn't push it forward and I didn't do what I needed to do. I hopped in the jump rope, in the little jump rope lane, right? But I tripped up and I could not finish because I did not have enough follow through. So you have to take your ownership, and when you haven't done your part, and then challenge yourself to redirect yourself in a way, especially if you got a vision board or some type of game plan or monthly deliverables that you have. It can be from a coach. It could be something you're setting up for yourself, being self-directed. Whatever that case may be, you have to make sure that you're taking the time to do your due diligence to assess yourself. Large companies and very successful companies are successful because they take assessments. They are looking for feedback. If you're working with something such as somebody in that takes calls for like admissions or something, for example, and let's say they're working on cycles, when that cycle is up, they're going to go back and revisit that. Those that are in project management, once that project is complete, they go back and assess what worked right, what went good, what was working and was really like something that was drawing people in. And then they go back and actually acknowledge some things that they put out there and maybe it did not hold up like they thought it would. Or is there something that just outright failed, and either build upon it or actually exit out of their strategy. And so if you are investing your money, and more importantly, your time, because sometimes you're moving your business forward with just time, not money. If you're working on that, time is something you can't get back. Money is something you can make up, but time you cannot get back. You can't go back in 2019. So this is why I'm really pushing you in 2020 to break the habits that you had last decade, and let's do something new. You cannot go back in the past. It's done. It is done. Leave it alone. Go forward. Take the lesson, but don't take the baggage. And that's just really important. And if you don't remember what I said of anything else that I've said the entire time on this podcast, on Stiletto Talks podcast, make sure that you do not take the baggage. You got to actually be willing to move yourself forward. Another thing that I wanted to talk about too, stop being scared to collaborate and network. I had an incident that happened in my salon last week. So I had someone in my salon that did graphics. And then I had someone else in my salon that does her own beauty products in terms of body butters, soaps, and bath bombs. And then I had someone else that was a therapist. So I introduced them all. They all exchange numbers and will probably be exchanging money. And of course, they all were exchanging money with me because they needed services from me. So you have one that's looking to wholesale the one's beauty products, her body products in her spa, and she needed a sign. The one that needed the sign was looking to get a massage. The one that needed the body products also needed to get a massage. This is how you network and collaborate. And if you are scared to share your ideas, nobody can do what you do like you do it. Even if they're better at it, they still not going to do it like you do it. And that's what makes you unique. Sometimes it's not about always being the best, but it's about being unique. There are a lot of people out here that drive themselves by unique things. I'm not always necessarily looking for name brands. I'm always looking for unique brands. So make sure that you understand that that might be your niche. Uniqueness over being the best, because being the best is a lot of pressure. And those that thrive to be the best, they generally have a circle around them, a good network and a tribe. And if you're not willing to do that, then you certainly need to strive to be unique. So make sure that you're doing your due diligence. You have to be able to go to events. And I can tell you, in the world of small business, in the world of speaking, in the world of any type of vending event, if you don't support other people, they're not going to support you. You could put 1,000 things on Eventbrite. They're not coming to your event if you haven't been to theirs. So it's really, really important that you push the narrative of networking and collaborating. You should have a Rolodex. I have a list of names that I can call, whether I'm in Louisiana, whether I'm in Arizona, whether I'm in Texas. Wherever I go, I don't meet strangers. I talk a lot. Obviously, I have a podcast. But the reason why I do those things is that I can connect people, because that's really what my brand is. So when I say I have a consulting firm, it's believable because I can connect you with what you need. So I'm a believable source because I'm not just telling you that, I'm living it. Be willing this year in 2020, start anew. If you don't go but to 3 events this year, and start studying events so that maybe you can have something in 2021, or hosting just small focus groups. Hey, y'all, I'm thinking about doing a new product line. I want to get your feedback. Hey, I have a new service coming out. I want to get your feedback. And lastly, stop being scared. If you're scared, people are going to think like you don't know what you're doing. And keep in mind, you teach people how to treat you. So if you are treating yourself with disrespect, if you are playing yourself small in your gifts, if you are giving everything away for free, because everything is not free. And just because you're new, don't mean you got to give everything away for free. You set out an allotment of what you're going to give away for free. And then from there on, you name your price, because nobody knew you were giving something away for free in the past unless you told them. So you have to be willing to build your net worth by networking. So I just wanted to share this today as we get ready to move into next month. We're going to have so many female entrepreneurs on here for Women's History Month. And I want to make sure that you're doing your due diligence. So when we start having these conversations next month with some of these businesses, you're going to hear a lot of these terms come up. You're going to hear things about temporal context. You're going to hear things about social media and engagement. You're going to hear a lot of things about vision boards and plans, and how most of them who are really successful, even in a small setting, and actually getting their ideas in stores or out there into the public, or submitting for TED Talks and getting other certifications, how they network and how they move. You're going to hear a lot of the same things that you're hearing on this podcast. So if you please take you some notes on this one, because you're going to hear it again next month as we talk to 5 dynamic women for Women's History Month. Because at the end of the day, we are history. We are creators by nature. So make sure too that you are following us, following Stiletto Talks on Google Play or iTunes. And you can also download the Podbean app, and then you can pull up stilettotalks.podbean.com. So again, I am Paula J. Hutchinson. If you need to get in touch with me with anything, if you would like to be a guest on the show, definitely reach out to me. I am definitely available, and I love hearing about unique people and putting them on the forefront and giving them a platform on Stiletto Talks. So send me an email at contact@paulajhutchison.com, and I will definitely follow up with you within 48 to 72 hours. You can also follow me on my website at www.paulajhutchison.com, where we have so many new things coming out, so many events coming up. one of the biggest events that I have come that I am so excited about this year in 2020 is I'm taking almost 30 business women out to Punta Cana. We are out of here. We are headed to the Dominican Republic to actually relax, relate, and release. And our theme this year is I Choose Me. And so we are so excited. But I have another event coming up and I cannot wait to drop it and who the speaker is. Oh my goodness. So for Punta Cana, I have Cashel Kelly and I have Nettie Johnson. And of course, I'm going to be there dropping some knowledge and some gems. And then I have some other surprise guests for Punta Cana. So I'm not going to put this on here because they're going to be trying to see. But I'm going to wait. But oh, for the one that I'm having coming up, behind that one, get ready. So I just again look forward to sharing all of that. You can get all of that on the website. Definitely always follow me. Also on Facebook, you can look up Paula J. Hutchison, and I have a page. Like the page so you can hear the podcast, and of course set your reminders for the podcast because you never know when I'm gonna pop on and drop you some nuggets that I've paid for. Keep in mind, I've paid for my education. I just believe in paying it forward and sharing. So again, remember, this is a safe space where we actually share and talk and toss about ideas. But if it's something that I've learned, I want to share with you. And just know today that all of the information that I'm sharing, I share with love because I believe that we can win. When one of us looks good, we all look good. And if we don't lift and hold each other up, there's no way we can win. And how can we win when we ain't right within, as one famous Lauryn Hill once said. So I wish you all peace and love. I hope that you are working those visions. If you haven't picked up your planners this year, and it's been a few weeks, blow the dust off of it. Get to yourself this weekend. Start writing out some ideas and start tossing some things off of some people that you trust, okay? And then I also have free consultations on my website that you can always book. So I'm always available and out here ready to just help you any way that I can. But I look forward to the next time being on the show, sharing with you all. And I'm telling you, I'm going to drop a couple of more gems this month. And then we are going straight into Women's History Month. And I'm telling you, you do not want to miss these women with these unique ideas. A lot of times born out of a necessity and a need to heal themselves. And it is amazing what you hear women come up with. So again, I look forward to sharing with you all again. And I got a couple of surprises, like I said, coming up this summer. This decade, we're not taking no losses, no L's. And if something doesn't work, that means it just needs to be reworked and redeveloped. So I don't consider anything a failure. So have a positive week. Get around 3 positive people. And make sure you take the time this week to introduce yourself to 3 people you don't know. Peace.